So in the first step, create a data table. Second step, add properties. What are the properties you are creating in the table? Same properties you will be adding under the class structure. So under your class structure you will add the same properties, and then in the third step add the properties into the section, then flow action. In the next step, create activity. In the next step, create activity, and then finally we will add the flow action and activity name in the flow diagram. Okay, this is the sequence of steps. So first of all I will add one data table. Okay, create a table, add a new data table, okay, give any class name, give the parent class, add the property names, adding some sample properties, okay, then generate. After adding the properties, click on generate option. Now say in this table student ID is the primary key property and rest of all normal properties. Under the class structure, what are the properties we have given here? Same properties we have to create again. So under the class structure, csoft hyphen some company hyphen app. Okay, then close. think we have already some fields are already there. What are the name we are giving here in the table? We have to provide the same name. Like student ID means we have to give in the same sequence, like case sensitive. Student ID, student name. Already we have a name, property name called student name. Then age is available, class is there, grade is there, and school is there. Okay. We are having all the rest of the properties already there. Now we'll create a user interface. So first of all, under the user interface, create section rule. Now add the properties. I'm using the same layout. Okay. Then save the section. Create full action. Now in the next step, we will create activity rule. So I think I already given the introduction, right? Activities. So we'll creating activity. So in that, see, for inserting, if you are doing the insert means, so first of all, after opening the activity, we should give the page name and class name. We should provide the page name and class name. See here, page name means, already I told you there are two types of pages will be there, and every time if you want to insert the data to the data table, before saving to the table, our values, so property values will be temporarily saving in the py work page. So first of all, provide the page name as py work page, and it should be in the same format, py small, w caps and p caps. Don't give so this must be the same order. And under the class name, so we have to provide the class structure name, because all the user interfaces and when we submit the flows and all, so everything will be under the class structure. Even PY work page also belongs to the class structure only. We have to provide the class name as your class structure name. So whatever you are using in your application, provide the class structure name. And in this another row, we will be giving to the page name for the data table also. and that page name we can give any name here. So I'm giving some sample name called insert data, and the class name, so for which table we are inserting the data. Actually this is the table we have created, and if this is the class name we have to provide. So under the insert data page, provide the your data table, what are the class name you have given, provide the data table class name, and see this PY work page will act as a reference to the properties for this class. Under this class means if you want to select the properties under the class structure means first of all you have to select the py workpage dot property name, and if you want to select the properties under the data table means first of all you have to select insert data then property name. So that one I will show you. And after adding the page name and the class name in the pages and classes tab, in the next you will go to the steps tab, and the methods used are for inserting our data. We will use two methods. One is property set method, another one is obj save method. So these two methods we will use for saving our data to the table. So property set means it will set the values to the property name. So what are the value we are submitting in the form, those values it will set to the property names in the database. And obj save purpose is to save the data, what are the values we are set here in the first step. In the second step, using the obj save method, those values will be saved in the database. That one we will be doing in the activity. Activities are created under technical category. New option, technical activity. Give any name. This is the steps tab, parameter tab, pages and classes. Go to this tab first. We will give the page names, manually add the page name, and class names you can select from the drop down. For the pure page, your class structure name we have to provide. Add one more row. I told you here we can give any name for this. And the class name, data table class name. Student info one is the data table class name. Then go to step, and what are the our own user page we have provided here, insert page, right? Same page we have to provide under the step page option. So whenever you add a step page, we have to give the what are the user page name we have given there. We will get in the drop down, select. Then method name is property set. Now we have to configure this thing. Expand this method. Left side you will find an arrow. Expand that method. Some parameters will be there, and we need to fill these things. And for which properties we are saving the data, we have to include all the property names and property values. And one more thing, whenever you use the property set method, you observe every time the property name will be there in the database. See here, every time the property names will be there in the data tables: student ID, student name, age, class, grade and school. And in the property values means every time we will be submitting in the user interface form. So when we enter the data here in this form, so those values will be first of all saved in the clipboard. So clipboard means PY workpage, and from there we are mapping the property value, we are mapping to the property names in the database. So using the property set method, what we are doing means when end user enter any data in the form, those values we are mapping to the property names in the database. Now what we have to do means here, so property name, what is the reference? So student table, so under the student table we will have all the property names. And what is the reference page for this class? Insert page is the reference page. Now if already told you, if you want to select the properties under this class, we need to select the page name, and if you want to select the properties under this class, we need to select this page name. Now under the property name, so under the data table class, we need to select the properties. So if you click on down arrow, it will show the page names first. You will directly not get the property names. First of all, we need to select the page name, then it will display the property names. See, under the student info, insert page is a reference page name to the student info class. Whenever we select insert page, it will display all the property names under the data table class. Now select all the properties, means for which properties you are saving the data to the database. Add all the properties, means here we have taken all these things, we will be adding all these properties here. In the left side we will be giving property name, in the right side we will add the property value. So right side what we will do, py workpage dot property name, because all these properties, so py workpage dot, it will display all these properties, and we have to select the property name. So same property, so left side what are the name we have given, right side also same property name, but these properties belongs to data table and these properties belongs to the our class structure. So when we fill the form, property value, whenever we provide the property value in the form, first of all it will be saved in the pure page, and then it will map to the data table class, and later if we use obj save method, so the value will get saved in the database. So okay, same way we will do for other properties also. In the right side, pure page dot property name. Okay, property value is set to the property name. Now add one more step. I will use obj save method. So in the step page, same will include the user page name, insert page, and method is obj save. Okay, now everything is okay. In the step we have given the, so all the methods and everything. Now go to security. Now we have to call this activity in the flow diagram. So by default the type it is showing as utility, right? If you want to call this activity in the flow diagram, the type must be utility, then only we can call this activities in the flow diagram. So go to activity type and select the type as utility. Then save the activity. Now I will create a new flow. In the flow diagram, first I will take assignment, and after that I will add the utility shape. So then what are the flow action name we have created and what are the activity we have created, we will be adding both the rules in these shapes, flow action name and the activity name. Check out. Add utility. Okay, add the flow action name. Under utility properties, call the activity name. If we don't provide the type as utility there, we cannot call this activity in this. Compulsory the type must be utility. And for every flow we have to go to the process tab here in the flow diagram, select the option, do this for every flow, select the option as creates a new work object. Second. Okay, select the option as creates a new work object, and also by default you can also select skip create harness. So why this means, normally by default it will display one page, so in the developer environment if you want to skip that page you can select this skip create harness option. Okay, now save the flow. Okay, now run the flow. Now submit the form. Now you can, what are the data submitted here, first it will go to the PY work page. you can see here. So first it will save in the peer page, and from here it will map to the database. So already according to using the obj save method, you can refresh, already it is open, right? Refresh the table and you can find one record for this table. Okay, what are the data submitted there, same data it will save in the database also. So like that we will be doing for every form. Whenever you design any form, for every form you will follow the same process. Okay, entire application, for the entire application, whenever you design any form, you will be following this process for every form. Okay, so just I showed it for one form. You can practice for more than 2 forms, 3 forms, so at a time. Once again I will explain. So what is the first, we have created one data table here with some properties. So which the properties which we are going to use in the user interface. So what are the properties you are using in the user interface? The properties I have added in the table first of all. After that, what are the properties added here? Same properties. See, also give the names, also same names give. Then you will not get any, you will not get confused about the property names. What are the names given here? Like student ID means student ID, student name means same name, so age means age. So give the same properties under the class structure also. Again these properties we will be using in the user interface. At the time of UI design we will use the same properties in the section. Then we will be adding the flow action name. Then the important thing is, so all the logical setting will be done in the activity. So instead of writing the queries, so we are doing that one using the activity rule. So without writing any queries, so just like obj property set method we are setting all the data, and for saving we are using the obj save method. So before that, so we will set up the pages and classes. So pure page, every time only for the insert we will use the pure page. Again if you do the fetching means, so there will be a different page name. Okay, pure page is used for only for inserting. Okay, and this comes under the class structure name. And for the data table class we can provide any username, any name you can provide for that. And then go to step. What are the user page we have taken there, same page we will add in the step page option. Then property set, expand the method, and in the we'll give the all the property names in the property name and the property value, so and the relevant page names. Insert page dot student ID. In the right side every time under the property value, PA page dot student ID. So same way we'll do for other properties. Then for saving this data, the method is obj save method. And in the security we'll select the type as utility, because the flows, in the flows if you want to call this activity rule means compulsory the type must be utility. In the flow, add the flow action name. Suppose if you add one more form, so after this utility you will add assignment shape, and you will add one more utility shape, and you will call the activity. So just try for 2 forms, using 2 forms. Same way you can, what are the way you have configured for single form, same way you will configure for the 2 forms also. So but in the flow diagram you will add one more assignment and one more utility shape. Okay, so execute the flow, and when you submit the data, that will save in the database. Once again I will execute. the data. So in the developer environment we need to manually run the flow again. So this is a developer environment, right? So every time we need to manually run the flow here and submit the data. And so this is our insert. And suppose one scenario will be there. For example, if you are using like two forms, after one form again you will get one more form, right? For example, if you are using a start shape, I'm not using the utility here right now, I'm just showing the assignment shape, start shape, assignment shape, and after that you are adding one more assignment shape. And in this form and in the first form and the second form, if we have some common fields are there, means what happens, what are the form submitted in the first form, same value it will copy in the second form also. I will show one example. Take open any flow. Okay, I will take this example, but I will remove. So this is the first form I have added in that flow, and see if you have any common properties in both the forms. I think there is one property called age is common in this, so this is another form I have included. So in the both the forms there is one common field called age. So age is only the common field. Then what happens, see, when you run this flow, after submitting the first form, what are the value you have given for age, same value it will copy for the second form also. Why? Because so what are the value it is storing in the PV work page, same value it will display in the second page also. But how to avoid that means I will tell you. These are mandatory fields are there, just enter data. For the age I am entering some input. When you submit for the age, again you will get the same value here. So because same what are the value copied in the PV work page, it is copying in the second form also for the age field. So what to do, we have to empty the value from the PV work page and we should enter a new value for this field, so for this form. Then how to do that means again using the activity rule. So we can suppose if you have common fields in so alternate forms, then we need to not only any after that next form also, if you have any common fields means, so after filling the first form, we need to add an utility shape and call that activity name. So means we need to empty the values from the PY work page. So you get these scenarios also in real time also. So we need to empty the values from the PY work page. So for that I will create one activity. In that activity I will use a method called property set. Using the property set I will empty that value. Just a single step. First of all, go to pages and classes. Okay, from which page we are emptying the data, we have to enter that page name. We are doing it from the PY work page, and the class name. Every time the PY work page belongs to your class structure. to step. In the step page also you will enter PV work page because that is the only page available, and method name is property set. See, property set at max we will use in every activity, so it is one of the important method. Any kind of logical things, the main method is one of the main method is property set. And expand this method and see property name means, so it will be in the user interface right now. PV page dot age, so age is the common field, right? And in the property value we will give double quotes, open double quotes and close double quotes. So the meaning of this means, so it will null the value from the age field. For the age property we will give the, so we are just by giving this open double quotes and close double quotes, it will null the value for the previous property. Now save this. So before saving, go to security and give the type as utility because we have to call this in the flow diagram. So after the first assignment, now after the first assignment I am adding utility. First connector I will give the first flow action. In the utility properties, add the activity name. So activity which is created, empty act. Already we have another flow action added here. Save the flow and execute the flow. Previously what happened, same value it is copying in the second field, second form also. Now it will empty the value after entering the input here. It will empty the value here, and when it goes to the second form, their end user can enter the new data. So it got emptied the previous value, so the age value. Now end user can enter a new input here. So any case if you have any common fields repeated in the, so next to forms means we can do this way. So we have to empty the value from the PV work page using the property set method. So no, I have done only for one property. If you have more than one property means we have to add the property names, and so we have to call that in the flow diagram. So any case if you face this type of issues, we can do this way. And next thing is, so how to fetch. Now previously we have done the insert, right? Now how to fetch the data from the database. So fetching, so first of all in fetching also there will be two types will be there, fetching single record and fetching multiple records. So first of all I will show how to fetch single record. For fetching single record, the property must be, so in the data table we can fetch single record using the primary key property. See, every data table we will be adding one primary key, right? So for every data table, for at least one property we are setting as a primary key. So for our data table, already the same table created right now in the today's session, we will use the same data table for fetching also. So again I will use the same table. In this table student ID is the primary key. See, when end user enter a student ID, so when end user enters student ID as a record as 311, then it should display all the information about that particular student ID. So what is the name of the student, class, age, grade, school, so total information it should display. So for that we will be designing two user interfaces, means two sections will create. So one section for the student ID property. So for the first section I will add only student ID, and in the second section all the properties. So for which properties you want to display the data, I will be adding all the property names. So already properties are available, no need to create the properties, because at the time of fetching we will not create any properties. So directly we will create the user interface. In the user interface I am adding two sections. So the first section with the primary key property. In our table the primary key property is student ID. Save. And in the second section I will add all the remaining properties. I can also include student ID also, but one more thing is, here I will make the fields as read-only fields. So because we will only get the information from the database, so we will not enter any, end user will not enter the data. So for that what I am doing is, so I am already taking the existing, already we have a user interface, right? Whatever the user UI designed at the time of flow, sorry, at the time of insert, I am going to use the same one. We can also create a new one also. So but already I have the existing user interface, I am going to use that one. So student ID, student name, age, class, grade and school, and for these fields I am setting as a read-only fields. So student ID, how to make it as read-only means, go to the field properties, sorry, click on checkout first of all. Now we can modify. Go to field properties, go to general tab, under the edit options select the option as read only. Select the option as read only, click on close. Do it for the remaining fields also. Save the section. For this already we have a flow action. For the first section I will create the flow action. create an activity. So this is the flow action available already. Fetch insert FA1. So that is the second flow action we will be using. It will automatically update, no need to do any modifications. Now create activity rule and at the time of activity whatever we have done at the time of insert, so we'll do it in a different way. So means the pages and class names will change now. The page names and class names will change here. So previously what we have given the page name like this, PO work page class structure name, the user page name and the data table class name. But now we will be so under the page name and class name now we will be giving, I told you, so we will not use PO work page at the time of fetching single record. So the page name will be primary. So that is also one default page name. So when you fetch single record, the page name will be primary. So because the property name must be the primary key, right? So they have designed like that. The page name is also, name is primary, and class name is your data table class name, because first of all we will be fetching the data from the database. So the page name is, the default page name is primary, and the class name is data table class name. And in another row where we are fetching the data, we have to provide that one. And for that you can give any page name. So like for example I am giving a page name as fetch single. So I am giving the page name as fetch single, and the class name is our class structure name. I am providing the class name as class structure name. So these two things we have to fill in the pages and classes. And method names for fetching single record is, we will use obj open and property set method. These two methods we will use for the time of, at the time of fetching single record. Okay, now using this we will configure that one activity. First of all go to pages and classes, provide the page name as primary, class name as your data table class name. Student info 1, and in another row I can give any name here. And class name must be your class structure name. So this page name will act as reference to these properties, and this page name will act as reference to these properties. Now go to step. We will be adding the user page. What are our own user page we have added, that page we will be adding in the step page. In the method name, first method is obj open method. Add obj open and expand this method. We need to fill those things. Open class means from which table we are fetching the data, we should have to provide that class name. Normally we are fetching from the data table class. And in the property name and property value option, I already told you we will fetch the data using the primary key property. Means when end user enter the record here, see, when end user will enter the record for the student ID, what happens means it will go to the data table for the property value and search in the database whether that record is available or not. So first end user will enter the value in the property name. So here property name means the student ID. So where that belongs to, fetch page dot, that fetch single dot student ID. So we will add only that primary key property here. In the right side, primary dot, so which belongs to the database, primary dot student ID. So you understand it. Obj open, what it will do means when end user enter the property name in this form, so student ID form, it will go to the database and search for that record, whether that record is there or not. Suppose if in any case if the record is not there, means we can write some validations. That one we will do in the coming sessions. And suppose if the record is there in the database, then it will go to the next step. In the next step I am using a property set method. So I can add the same page, and method name is property set method. I expand this method, and here for which records you want, sorry, it is displaying the same thing. Okay, so we will not add any conditions. Okay, when you expand the property set, you will get these parameters: property name and property value. So what are the fields you want to fetch, for which records you want to fetch the data, those properties again will add in the property set. So in the previous session, at the time of insert from user interface to the data table, so for mapping user interface to the data table, we used the property set method. So here in this case, from data table to the user interface, from mapping the data from user data table to the user interface, we are using the property method. Simply saying, for displaying the fetched records, we are using the property set method. Then what happens here, primary dot property name. So for how many properties you want to display the record, add all the property names. In the right side, we will give fetch dot property name. So this configuration is done. Now go to the security. Even this one also we have to call in the flow diagram. Select the type as utility here. Now save the activity. Now open the flow. I will use the previous flow only, but we have to change the flow action names. See here, first of all we will add the assignment shape, right? Add the flow action name. So the flow action which containing single record, so means that is student ID. Then in the utility properties, for fetching what are the activity you have created, we will call that activity name. Next, for displaying the records, again we need to add the assignment shape for displaying those fetched records. Here we will not add any activity name. Something my is add the flag action name. So what is the flag action we need to, so for displaying all the records we have entered one flag action, right? That flag action we have to add in the connected properties. Now save the flow and run the flow. So first we will get a student ID. If you enter a valid record, check in the database, then it will display all the information. I am giving 312. Click on submit. It will give the total information about the particular student, ID, name, age, class. So this one we can set the alignment. I will show in the tomorrow's class. Okay. Once again, if you have any queries, again I will repeat tomorrow this fetching single record. So I will share this thing. You just practice this thing. If you have any doubts, again I will share it tomorrow. I will discuss tomorrow. Okay. Actually I need to go early today. Okay, thank you.